Alright, this is John Cole with GrowingYourGreens.com through another exciting episode for you and coming at you from my backyard garden. I'm going to share just some of the things that I'm growing this year and actually one of my favorite plants to grow in the hot desert climate. And you guys should grow this plant no matter where you live. And what we got here is my raised bed garden. Got two behind me. And these two are kind of like summer beds for me. You know, these are going to be grown only in the summer. They're not a perennial bed, and then they're going to come out once it starts getting cold, and the plants are not going to make it. So the plant I'll be talking about today is best grown in summer, or you can grow it year-round indoors, with some extra light on it and whatnot, and it's going to do great for you. So, I could be talking about the dill here. I could be talking about the arugula here. I could be talking about some of the beans I got planted in here, or the stevia, which is amazing, or actually my Gynera procums, but we're not talking about any of those today. What we're going to talk about is the basil. So I got a few basil plants in here, like three different kinds. We got the purple Ruffles basil. Now this is my #1 top pick overall. As you guys can see, I got two of them here, one there, one there. They get quite tall. I have them kind of trellised up a trellis rack in the back there. And these basically, guys, I haven't seen them gone to flower. Like, I grew them all last year. They did amazing. This is a burpee plant selection. This plant is completely amazing. Really good basil flavor, and I don't know if you guys could see that on the video there, but the leaves are like blotted with like purple and green. It's totally beautiful. Can be used as an ornamental or even in your front yard if you're not supposed to grow vegetables, because nobody would imagine that's actually a vegetable. It just looks like some kind of landscape plant. But it's completely delicious, produces bountiful, harvest of basil leaves for me. The next one that I like a lot, not quite as much as the purple ruffle. They do have a green ruffle, which actually I did not perform as well for me for some reason. The next one, I don't know if you guys can see this way over here. It's kind of like hiding underneath. This guy is called the Pesto Perpetual Basil. And that's another one I like a lot because it barely doesn't go to flower. I don't think I saw it go to flower last year. And, when basil goes to flower, to keep optimal production up, you should clip off the flowering tops. Otherwise, it'll go to flower and not make enough leaves or as many leaves anymore for you guys, although it will continue to grow until it gets a cold spell. So yeah, it's good to prune your basil off the tops. But you know what? I have so many things to do, and I don't have time every day to come out to top my basil. You guys might, but I have over 1,000 plants in my backyard garden, and I can't be hand-holding each and every one. They need to figure out their own stuff. So that's why I really like these two varieties that I haven't seen gone to flower, in my garden last year. Aside from that, I got another really good one. It's actually known as the Holy Basil, and that's this guy right here. It is going to flower, so I am pinching off the tops. And when you do pinch off the tops, these guys are completely edible. Got some nice minty fresh breath. But, wow, that's pretty good. But yeah, the flowers are edible, the tops are edible. You can just throw all this into a pesto and make a pesto out of it. A little bit strong. It's good. So I want to tell you guys about basil before I get into a whole nother shot where I'm actually planting one whole bit of basil out. I mean, I got 3 varieties here, but I'm going to plant another 16, 17 varieties. So I'm going to have 20 or more varieties growing my garden this year. I mean, that's another thing that we'll get into a minute. But I want to encourage you guys to have genetic diversity in your garden. This will prevent, against crop failures. Maybe one variety didn't do well, but you'll find, like I did last year, because I planted at least over a dozen varieties last year, these guys did the best. So these are the ones that I was first to plant, and then we got some other ones later to experiment with. Plus, every different basil has a whole different flavor profile with different essential oils, different, flavonoids, and compounds that are good for us, plus also new and different taste sensations. And you could literally travel around the globe with recipes by growing different varieties of Asian basils or Indian basils or Mediterranean basils and all this kind of stuff. So basil is really cool. So where is basil from? So basil is thought to be from India originally, and in the Greek language, basil means king. So I would consider it one of the king of the herbs. It is so delicious, so good. And I talked about the plant oils and the flavonoids in there. And those aren't for us, although they do benefit us and have been shown and may help with things like inflammation and cancer and whatnot. But I mean, the plant puts these flavonoids and these essential oils in there so that they could be bug, pest, and disease resistant, right? And that's why all the plants produce certain different compounds. The capsaicin in the peppers, which is in the bed right in front of me here, is protective for the plant against insects. Because think about it, 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, there were no such thing as pesticides to spray on the plants. The plants had to figure it out and deal with insect pressures and disease pressures on their own, or they wouldn't survive. So over the millennia, plants have come up with these natural defense systems. And here's the key. The key is the plant's natural defense systems are only strongest when they're getting fed the proper diet and when they're in more of a natural environment, getting a spectrum of different nutrients in the soil, as well as a host of the bacterial and fungal biology and other things in the soil, such as earthworms, that basically can improve the health of your plants. Like, I kind of like to give this comparison. It's like we can live on like Soylent, and I know some of you guys are tech heads out there and might even eat that Soylent stuff. Soylent is some guy in Silicon Valley invented this pouch that gives all the nutrition you need in one pouch of oil and vitamins and all this stuff. And that's like living on supplements, right? And you could survive on that, but I don't think you're going to be optimally healthy on living on Soylent. It's much better to, grow and eat whole plant foods for all the nutrition you need. So, plants given the right soil is us living on whole, real plant foods. And so they're going to be healthier. You're going to be healthier. You're not going to get as sick as much as living on some, fertilizer in a bottle or Soylent in a package that just gives you the nutrients you need. There's so many other, known and unknown nutrients in even things like basil and peppers and tomatoes and yacon and everything that I'm growing. It's just crazy. And I don't even try to, as much as I believe in science to some level, science doesn't know a lot of things. And let me tell you, they don't know a lot. But I believe in science. I want to try to use science whenever I can, but also I like to experiment, have fun, and play in the garden. Now, some diseases that may affect the basil are the fusarium and the pythium. That's basically a disease in the soil. So for that reason, it's very important not to put like 10-10-10 Miracle Crop fertilizer or other fertilizers. You want to get, you want to add beneficial microbes and beneficial nematodes, beneficial fungus. The beneficial fungus eat the bad fungus. The beneficial bacteria in your soil kick ass over the bad bacteria so that your plants will not get these diseases. So it's a whole symbiosis of plants and nature working together so that they can thrive and coexist peacefully, and even better than one without the other. So without further ado, let's go over to my newly set up raised bed that I basically just topped off with new soil. And I'm all ready to plant out my new basils. Let me share my, 13 different varieties of basils that I'll be planting out in that raised bed today. So now prepared my raised bed to plant out my new basil. And basically, after every season, I pull out all the old plants, and usually the soil level sinks down a little bit. Then I'll basically make a new compost mix with compost and rock dust and worm castings and some John and Bob's products and some zeolite and whatever else I have laying around, insect frass. Then I'll basically top this guy off and then reset the drip lines to make it look all nice and pretty. Because I think, it's really important for me, and it may or may not be for you guys, is to have a beautiful garden. And whatever beauty means to you, because I know I've seen some guys' girlfriends, and I'm like, man, that guy thinks she's beautiful. But that's another story, I'm not saying none of that about you guys, but everybody has a different idea of beauty, and I kind of like things more structured. I guess since I'm part German, it's the German in me coming out, and I just want things nice and orderly, neat and tidy, or as tidy as I could keep them. So I got this reset in a good configuration so that the plants will get some water. Now, it's very important for the basil, right? One of the reasons why it does so well in Las Vegas is because it's so dry and hot. And basil does not like to have its feet wet. Have you ever had to walk through a river and get your feet wet and the river is so cold? It's just not fun. I guess it could be fun on a hot summer's day. But basil doesn't like to get its feet wet, so it doesn't like to have constant moisture. Say if you're growing it in a self-watering pot, for example, it likes to have a dry cycle and a wet cycle. A dry, wet. Not like wet, a little bit wet, a lot wet, a little bit wet, a lot wet, right? And it's going to perform better if you can match the watering to the plant's needs. And every plant is like this, and basil tends to like a bit less water. Some other herbs that like less water, like the rosemary, they like less water, as well as the sage. And I get people saying all the time, John, my basil's not doing well, my rosemary's not doing well, my sage is not doing well. Well, one of the potential reasons is that you are overwatering them. I mean, we equate like, oh, I want to love my plants, let's give it more water, but you're actually doing them a disservice. So the quickest and easiest way to know, how moist your soil is, to get an inexpensive soil moisture tester. It looks like the gas gauge on your car, and you can kind of keep track of if the soil is dry or wet. And also, I want you guys to, pay attention in your garden, pay attention to your plants, and look at your plants, right? Ooh, this guy's a little bit tangled up here. If your plants look about like that, they look nice and happy, then they're good with water. And I mean, that pot is relatively light. I watered a little bit last night, but not too heavy, not to drench it. If the leaves are wilty and the roots is very wet, that's a highly probable cause that the leaves are wilty, and that's why it doesn't look good. Obviously, if it's like too dry and the leaves are wilty, that's probably because it needs more water. And this is something you're only going to learn by doing. You can listen to my videos all you want, and I know you guys that are not yet growing basil and not yet growing a garden, you guys seriously just need to get out and do it. You can do it. And the Home Depot could help with a 1-year plant guarantee. That was not sponsored. No, but seriously, Home Depot and places like Lowe's have a 1-year plant guarantee. So even if you go and buy your herbs there, and yes, they are expensive there, I always encourage you guys to support your local nursery or a local grower selling on Craigslist or somebody at the farmer's market to buy your plants. But they have a 1-year plant guarantee, which means if you kill your plants, if they don't make it, take the plants that are not alive back with your receipt, and they'll get you a refund or some replacement plants, right? Or gift card or whatever they do. So yeah, you guys can do it, and you can be successful. And this is all a learning process. I mean, when you first learn to walk, you have to like get up, and you might have fell over a couple times, but finally you learn how to walk. And virtually everybody in the world knows how to walk because we've all gone through this. And gardening's the same way, right? So anyways, I've methodically staked out the spacing in between these guys. I think it's maybe like 11 inches. I like to space my basils out like a foot optimally, but to fit a few more in the bed, I had to space it a little bit closer. And, I feel that if I trim them back, which I hope to stay up on this year, probably is not going to happen, I could keep them smaller, keep them clipped down, because last year my basils, I think, got to like 5-6 feet tall, which is kind of insane. So by the end of the season, I had to put stakes in and then basically make this like a whole, put stakes in and then string around it to hold it up, because otherwise it was going to fall over and shade all my other plants out. So I mean, I had a ton of basil, and one of my #1 recommended crops for desert, hot, arid climates like we're in. Another cool thing is it's one of my favorite crops for tropical climates, because some varieties will literally be perennial, and I've gone to places like Hawaii and Costa Rica where they just don't have a basil plant. I mean, they have a basil tree or a basil bush that's like 6 feet wide, 8 feet tall. It's totally insane. If you live in the tropics, you should get something like the holy basil or the pesto perpetual basil, or maybe even that ruby ruffles basil that I showed you guys earlier, and that would be an amazing plant that will grow year round because you do not get frost there. Yeah, maybe South Florida too. So anyways, now that I got all this laid out, what I'm going to do is, I like to, besides laying out things methodically, I like to kind of think about things when I plant things or plant plants, and plant them accordingly. So basically, the most sun comes from this direction. The rear gets the least sun, and so I'm going to plant the smaller plants over onto this side, the front, and the plants that are going to be taller in the back. So, some of these varieties will get nice and tall, and I'll go over all the different varieties I have. I think, 15 or 16 varieties here. This is actually called Perennial Pesto Basil. I like this one a lot. It should get fairly tall. I'll probably put it like towards the back middle. And so I'm just going to line up each plant next to the hole where I'm going to put it, and then I'll actually show you guys how I plant them, and then I'll show you guys the finished bed. That'll be the end of the video. Genovese basil, And this is like your standard basil. I'm not really a fan of this. It has nice large leaves, and some growers exclusively grow this one because it's a good cut and come again basil. We're going to go ahead and maybe put that guy right in the middle. Next we got, whoa, a unique one here as my plants are going to dump over. This is actually called the green pepper basil, ornamental culinary herb, tender perennial, fuller part sun. So yeah, I've never heard of green pepper basil. The leaves kind of remind me of peppers, and the leaves are actually a little bit thicker than, you know, a nice wafty or thinner leaf. I don't know how big this guy is going to get. I want to keep an eye on it, so we'll put it near the front and the outside. Next we got a new far basil. This kind of looks like a Genovese style or Italian sweet basil based on the leaf shape. Based on the smell too. And so maybe we'll put this guy right in the middle over there. Oh, next we got this guy right here. This is actually known as the spicy bush basil. And so this guy, they generally stay smaller. So we're going to go ahead and put this guy in the front. Next we got here Mrs. Burns lemon basil. So, you know, all the different basils that I'm growing all have different flavors. Some may produce better than others. Of course, some plants are probably healthier than others. And if you want to know where I got most of these plants are actually from the Cal Poly Nursery at Kellogg Ranch. I did get a few other plants at some other places. But they had a really good selection of at least 12 different of these varieties. Anything that's in this pot here was from the Cal Poly Pomona. They have generally good plants. And at Cal Poly Pomona, these are only $1.59, which is a good price. Some of their other tomatoes and peppers were $2.19, which is getting expensive, but still good for 4-inch pots. Anyway, this is a lemon basil. Maybe we'll put this guy in the back. I think it's going to give it pretty big there. Oh yeah, look at this one. Next we got the red Reuben basil. So I really want to encourage you guys to eat your foods of color, including your basils. Not only does it look pretty when you're growing it, you know, different plants have different phytochemicals and phytonutrients, and the pigments make up these phytochemicals. And that's why I like it. Plus, it looks pretty in the garden. So, you know, I think I got like only 2 purples this year. So maybe I'll put like, put them on the 2 ends. Maybe one on this side, one way on the other side. Next, another basil, Italian type, frilly leaves, as you guys can see. It's called the Napoletano basil. Obviously, this is an Italian one. And maybe we'll put it with the other Italians. And we'll put it right over there. All right. Whoops. Next we got Super Bow basil. Once again, another Italian, and I don't know all the different characteristics of all these basils, and that's half the fun for me. I like to just grow them and see what happens, taste them as they grow, and get to learn them not by what the little tag in the store says or what the seed catalog says, but what I get to experience with them, because everybody has a different opinion of what a plant tastes like and all this kind of stuff. But I'll get to know after this year, after growing these literally 16 varieties, 15, 16 varieties, what they taste like, which ones perform better, which ones bolt quicker, which ones require less work, etc., etc. So yeah, Super Bow basil. We'll just go ahead and put that in the middle ring with all the other common Italians. Up next we got this guy. This guy looks like he's going to get quite tall. He's actually pushing a foot right there already. This is the dark opal basil. And we'll go ahead and put this guy all the way in the back. Ugh. Okay, I can barely reach. I need longer arms. All right, next one of my favorites. This is a really good perennial style, and it's actually just called the African blue basil. And so basically you just cut off the flowers and it'll continue to grow nice, delicious leaves for you. And let's see here. We're going to go ahead and maybe put this guy right in the middle, since he probably should get fairly large. Next we got a cinnamon basil. So yes, I mean there's flavors like cinnamon, lemon, and lime basil. And it's amazing all the varieties of basil, but unfortunately if you go down to your local big box store, most of the time you're only going to find something like the standard Italian basils, which I think is sad, because genetic diversity is the key to life. I mean, we are all different on this planet, and you should grow some different kinds of basils, as well as peppers and tomatoes and cucumbers and zucchini. Oh, and don't forget the squashes. So many varieties of squashes. All right, this guy we'll put near the back. He's probably going to get pretty tall. All right, next. Oh, we got another Italian type, man. People love their Italian basils. I kind of prefer the Indian or Asian basils a little bit better myself. This is called the Aroma 2 basil, and I think we got another spot on the inner ring right there. So I got about a total of, I believe, 17 plants in this raised bed. Next, we got this one. We had the lemon basil, and then we got the lime basil. And we'll throw this guy right over next to the lemon, I believe. And we got 2 left now. Oh, here's another purple variety. This is called the Ararat Basil, Fragrant Ornamental Culinary. And this guy is having some challenges. The nursery that I got him from, which is Pearson's Nursery, didn't have the highest quality plants. And these guys were actually quite expensive. So I'm going to go ahead and put them up near the front so I can keep my eye on them. I got my eyes on you. You better perform. All right, down the last basil. One of my favorite basils of all time, and this is another one I recommend for you guys in tropical climates. I've seen this grow amazingly in tropical places like Hawaii and like Florida. And I'd grow this over Italian basils in hotter climates. This is actually known as the sweet Thai basil. Definitely a good flavor. Grows really well as well. And let's see here. Maybe I'll put them out in the front. All right, so I mean, that's all my plants. I got them all lined up where I'm going to plant them. Let me go ahead and show you guys a quick example of how I plant my plants out. I like to do things quick and easy, simple, save time because I have so much to do in my garden and there's so little time to play in the garden. All right, so first thing is, instead of using like a trowel, my hands to dig out the holes, basically I'll take out my little stake, which shows me where I need to plant my plant, like the middle of the hole. We'll take that out. And then I like to use a bulb planter. So, one of these days I need to get bulb planters like different sizes. So if I had a bulb planter like exactly the size of the pot here, that'd be really cool because I just make one hole, take this out, ruffle up the roots, drop it in, we're all done. My bulb planter, unfortunately, I don't know why they only come in one size because I guess people always plant bulbs with them, but I like to plant my starts with them. So we got to expand the hole. So basically what I'll do is I'll come over here, we'll basically come out and we'll just circle out and we'll just take out enough soil to plant my plants. And usually I like to look at the depth of the plant and I'll only go down that much. And then I just pull it up and take a bucket out and just basically turn this over and all the dirt comes out of there. And now that we have a nice hole, because this will not fit in there, it's too small. I love it, it's too small. We'll go ahead and make it a little bit bigger. So I just take my hand and I just kind of pull the soil back carefully a little bit to make the hole just a tad bit bigger. All right, once we do that, I like to go ahead and take out the name tag. We'll set it next to where I'm planting it so I know what I've planted where. I like to do this sometimes, but many times I don't really care because I'm just growing this for me and I don't care about the varieties. I just care that it's good, high quality, nutrient dense food. But I want to keep tabs on the different varieties that I'm growing this year to see which ones truly do better and which ones do not. So next we'll go ahead and take out the plant, and these were freshly watered last night, so they're not super dry. That's very important when transplanting, is to have, not super sopping wet plants, in my opinion, not super sopping dry, or not sopping dry, but super dry. We'll pop this guy out, and if you guys look at this, I mean, that's a nice fine root structure on that plant. They're basically not impacted, it's not too much. They're about right at the point where they're really waiting to grow out and get planted. So we're teasing them out just a tad bit. And before we get this guy in the soil, I want to do one thing. I like to always add this guy. This is actually called the mycorrhizae granular mycorrhiza. So basically, I just open up the packet here. So I got open up the packet here of the mycorrhizae granular mycorrhiza. And that's not just one strain of mycorrhiza, but it's different kinds. And I just take a little pinch and I just gently sprinkle that around onto the roots. Very important you get it on the roots. Don't mix the mycorrhiza in with your soil mix. It's not going to do much good in my opinion, and mycorrhiza actually can get quite expensive. So before I plant this little basil out, the next thing I like to do, even though my soil is very nutritious, using lots of compost and rock dust and worm castings and all the other stuff I like to do, and I got videos on what I do to make fertile soil, because the healthier plants depends on the healthier soil, not necessarily a fertilizer out of a bag. I do like to help my plants out, and I find that it reduces transplant shock to just give them a little bit of nutrients once they get into their new home. So what I like to use is actually the Dr. Earth's homegrown tomato, vegetable, and herb fertilizer, which is not the same as like a water-soluble miracle crap fertilizer, you know, that you guys get at a big box store. That stuff is just liquid. It's powder. When the water comes in, the powder basically is water soluble, and it just basically flows through your beds and down below and flows away, and your plant will uptake some nutrients. But I want to give my plants a nice sustained release fertilizer such as the Dr. Earth's, which is derived from natural organic ingredients, including having beneficial bacteria and some of the mycorrhiza in there. So this is one of the best fertilizers I've found of all the ones I've ever seen. And the cool thing is there's no manure products. Most bagged organic fertilizers contain manure products, which I'm not a big fan of due to the potential contamination. So I just take a little scoop there and sprinkle it around the hole. And now I just take the plant and just drop them right in there and you know, fill this back in. And I'm all ready, you know, to move on to the next one. That's how, I mean, it's super simple, gardening super easy. I love transplanting. You know, it's an easy way to start a garden. Of course, you could also direct seed, and or, you know, before the end of the season, you could take cuttings of your basil and root them in something as simple as water and be growing for the next season and keep those guys alive inside. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and plant out the rest of this bed. I'll come back at you when I'm done. Alright, so as you guys can see, I got all 16 varieties planted out. I actually had 17 planting holes, so I planted 2 of the Thai basils since I like those so much. I got those watered in, and the last step to me planting out a raised bed is to add the microbiology. This is super important, and this is something that most gardeners often leave out. And you know, I mean, you could leave it out if you want to. You don't have to do this last step. But if you want to have healthier plants, plants that yield more, plants that are more disease resistant, then you will want to do this step. And my last step to planting any bed out is I like to take a little pitcher, and this pitcher or a watering can does not have just water in it. It actually has Boogie Brew Pro compost tea that I brewed last night. So I brewed up 10 gallons, dispersed that all throughout my garden, and I saved the 1 bucket full so that I could spread on my basil plants here. So we're just going to go ahead and simply water in and get some of the compost tea right around each plant and distribute it all in the bed. And it is this Boogie Brew compost tea that truly makes your plants dance. Well, that's what Boogie Brew says. I just like to say they make my plants grow better because you're introducing the beneficial bacteria, beneficial fungi that are going to break down the organic matter in that, you know, non-water-based fertilizer I added, as well as in all the different compost and the cellulose and all that stuff in the compost. So yeah, that's my last step. Now this guy is all ready to just let grow on its own. I'll come back, pinch off leaves, have enough leaves for things like soups, salads, and dressings. I like to encourage you guys to use the leaves raw because when you do cook the leaves or even dehydrate the leaves and use dehydrated basil, you just don't get the full basil flavor. The aromatics actually lose their potency when heated. So yeah, use these guys raw. And if you are going to cook with them, add them in at the last possible second to retain most of the delicious basil flavor. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, learning more about me planting out my basil and about basils in general. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Also be sure to subscribe to my videos if you're not already. I have over 1,050 videos on all aspects of garden, and be sure to check my past episodes. You know, all my videos are a wealth of information on many different topics about gardening. Well, once again, my name is John Kohler with growingyourgreens.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, remember, keep on growing. All right, this is John Kohler with growingyourgreens.com. Today I have another exciting episode for you, and today I'm not in my garden, and I'm not visiting somebody's garden. Where I am is I'm at the Las Vegas Convention Center. This is South Halls. This convention center complex is huge, and why I'm here today is for the annual National Hardware. So now I've prepared my raised bed for planting out my baseful